all the shit I was worried about in my life is so pointless. Like, I'm such an idiot. I even thought of my little, like, what I wrote out, like, oh, I want to do this with ayahuasca, and I just felt like so dumb. I was like, this is more intense than I could ever have imagined. My ayahuasca experience. Where to even start? So I heard about ayahuasca before Nina was born. Cameron's mom did it, and she went to a 3-day retreat and had a really good experience. And she told us about it. She came back. She looked different. She, like, you could tell she had really worked through some things. I thought it was cool. Looked into it, just researched what it was. Knew I wanted to do it, but didn't feel like it was the time. Then Cameron did it a few years later when we left Vietnam. And he did it the same place as his mom. Had a really powerful experience and helped him work through a lot that he was dealing with at the time. And so multiple people in my life, friends, other family, have done it, but they say with ayahuasca there's like a call. And I never really felt the call. I never feel like, okay, yeah, I need to do this, or this is the time. Everything just kind of didn't line up, especially because the only place I really knew of it happening was where they did it in Florida. And now that we're living in Mexico, it's like, oh, I'd have to travel there, and what are we going to do with the kids? So it just didn't seem feasible, and it seemed stressful. Then we heard about people doing it here. And this was early on into our time in Merida, maybe like a year into our time in Merida. I was happy that it was available, but also I've never done any sort of psychedelic hallucinogen ever. The most thing I've done is alcohol and marijuana. So just jumping straight into that, not only am I scared, but I kind of wanted to go somewhere familiar. So I was really hoping to go where Cameron and his mom and his brother and sister-in-law had done it. But again, it just didn't seem feasible in terms of travel. But I'd heard of people doing it here. I've heard of good experiences. I heard about the group. They're called Ayahuasca Healing the World. I can link their info into the bottom of this video if you are trying to do it here in Merida. I think they do it in other places. I think they travel. I'm not too sure. I heard about it. Still didn't really feel called. I know there's things inside myself I need to work on. I know there's like just deep-rooted things from fear of death, confidence, self-worth, fear, worry, all these things. And I felt like I could do it by myself. And I felt like, oh, I haven't been really traumatized. Like, I didn't have a hard life. Like, why would I need to do something so heavy, something so healing, something so big? And then this year, after Julian was born, I just started to feel like maybe I do need something. Maybe I do need to go deeper. And maybe whether I had a good life or not, it's fine to just figure out what's inside, figure out what the experience is, what ayahuasca is, how it responds, what is going to show me inside of myself. And then we found out that the Soul Quest in Florida, where Cameron and his mom met, had closed. So that was out. That was not on the table anymore. And I was like, oh, man, like, should have took my chance. Now I have to go somewhere new, somewhere where I don't really know many people that have gone. And I just felt like, man, I feel the call, but I don't know where to do it. I don't know what to do. And then one of my friends said that she had done it with the Ayahuasca Healing the World group. And I was like, okay, so I got somebody. Another friend had told me, so now I have 2 people who have done this. They said they had good experiences. I think now's my time. And I was hoping to do it with people I knew, and that just didn't work out. They weren't going to be in town, and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to do this by myself, because usually they do it monthly. So the timing of it, usually they don't do anything in December because of the holidays and stuff. But they decided to do like a small group ceremony. And I was like, yeah, I want to do it. But then I was like, oh, I don't want to, I have to do there's a diet prep. There's, I have to like really, I just didn't feel like the energy. I was like, oh man, do I really want to do this right now? And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. I'll wait till my friends are back in town and they can do it with me. And, I'll have more time to prepare. And then I just kept getting like these signs that like I had to do it then. Like I would look at, I don't know, things in my, because also while I'm trying to prepare myself for this, I'm trying to dig into myself more. So meditating more, I'm just thinking about my life more, I'm looking at my zodiac sign more, I'm looking at birth chart stuff. And everything I was looking at was like, yeah, you got to do it then. You have to do it now. Like, now's the time. Everything was pointing to doing it now. So I was like, okay, here we go. I hear your call, and I'm going to answer. I reached out to them. I kind of delayed it, like, oh, it's probably full. It was like maybe like a week and a half before, so it's probably full anyways. And I reached out to them. They're like, oh, there's one more spot left. I was like, okay, let me just take the spot. Let me do it. Let me go into this, get it over with, because I don't want to have to keep putting this off. And I feel it. I feel the need to. I feel it building inside me. So they sent me the information. Like I said, with ayahuasca, you need to do there's some small diet changes. They recommend as plant-based as possible, really minimal processed foods, no coffee, no chocolate, no like caffeine-stimulating substances, less refined sugars, just eating really clean to prepare yourself to take the medicine. And also to start to have an attitude of openness, of gratitude, and that I think is the hardest. I think you'll hear me talk about this a lot through this video, but when I heard about ayahuasca, I was like, oh, it sounds like birth. Like, so many things have a parallel to birth. And one thing that I do when I'm pregnant and giving birth as well, especially like pregnant leading up to the birth, I'm always focused on like the physical, like, oh, I got to get my body right, and I got to get my diet right, and all this stuff, and that's really going to help me. And yes, it does, but I always underestimate the mental preparation every time. And it was, I would say now after the experience, I wish I would have mentally prepared just a little bit more, just gone into that a little bit more, because I have a tendency to focus on the physical. So, not that, I don't know if it would have made a big difference. I really don't know. I feel like ayahuasca is just going to show you what it's going to show you, no matter how clean you are and how prepared you are. It's going to throw you around. So I did the prep. We fast the day before, and I had set up with our nanny the next day to take Julian. Cameron was going to be alone with him all night. That's another thing. It was like first time away from Julian at nighttime. Usually he breastfeeds 3 to 4 times at night, honestly. And so it was his first time doing that, Cameron's first time with him alone, my first time away from everybody overnight. And the location is in Cholula. It's at a beautiful hacienda. There's like a kind of temple part of it. There's like a circular room, windows all around. There's like a steeple type thing with windows in it. And we pull up, it's nighttime. Ayahuasca's normally done at night. They do morning sessions, but I think commonly it's done at nighttime. And we pull up, and I can see that it's just a really nice place. I feel comfortable. And the moon is full. The moon is getting brighter, which will be another thing of this video. But yeah, Cameron said, he was like, oh, and you got a full moon, like it's gonna be a good experience. And I walk in, there's mats all around in a circle and little buckets, because with ayahuasca, like most psychedelic things, you purge. And the purging is kind of what helps the cleansing process, but what also helps activate things, depending on your situation. That's what I had heard going into it. So I was like, okay, there's my little purge bucket. I'm going to be throwing up. And leading up to the experience, I had my notebook. I have things here that like I wanted to get out of ayahuasca. But also going into it with an understanding of whatever you need to show me. I may have all these expectations of what I'm going to see and what I would like out of this. Like, oh, I want to be, I want to see my birth, or I want to see this, or I want to turn into an animal or something, like just the common experiences that I had heard of people doing ayahuasca. And one thing I was talking about with people that have done it, especially Cameron, is that you can't really go in with much expectation. You just got to surrender and let that shit do its work. And that was the truest thing I have heard about the experience, is that sense of surrender and letting go. So I looked over my notebook, I was kind of setting up. They said, make your spot on the mat. You bring your own pillow, blanket, just kind of things to make you feel comfortable. And you fill out an intake form. There's a kind of like a medical background, as well as why you're doing it, any history of mental illness, any medications you're on. Because also, if you are interested in doing ayahuasca, there's a lot of medications that you can't be on while you're doing it. They took my intake form, and then you kind of just get settled into your mat while you're waiting, and then they do interviews. So they go over your intake form with you. This is the two main guides that are there administering the ayahuasca. And they go over the intake form with you. They talk to you about what the experience may be like. Go over anything you put on your medical, mental health background, anything that should be discussed. Because also, if there's anything that comes up, it's kind of their chance to screen you and be like, oh, this is going on, you're not suitable for it tonight. And it's just kind of a chance to check in, kind of get any last questions answered, any concerns. I had told him, the guide, that I have anxiety. I definitely have a lot of trouble letting go of control, and that's a concern for me throughout this experience, that I'm going to freak out. And so he gave me some insights into how to deal with it, what I might expect, which helped, made me feel comfortable. Told him about any medical stuff I had going on that might be an issue. And then after everybody is done with their interview, everybody's on the mat, and they start to administer rapé, which is a ceremonial tobacco they put into a little pipe and shoot up your nose. The rapé is supposed to help just prepare you to take the medicine, just relax you, because, whether you've done ayahuasca before or not, I think it's just kind of it's not an easy process. It's not like a recreational drug. It's it's intense. My experience, at least. So I think the rapé is just to kind of help relax you, get you ready to take the medicine. And it's fine. It's, shooting something up your nose. It kind of burns a little bit. But then if you've ever smoked a cigarette, it kind of burns. It wasn't so bad for me. And then once it's in there, they tell you to start spitting. You're like over the bowl spitting, and then let it stay in your nose for about 5 minutes, and then you blow it out. And laid back, and I don't know if you've ever smoked a cigarette before, but it's a very similar feeling of just like kind of lightheaded, just relaxed. And then everyone got the rapé, and then they turned the lights out. There's candles everywhere. There's like a center offering around in the center of everybody's mats, where there's a bowl for incense or whatever they were burning, and fruit. Everybody had brought a piece of fruit to offer. Turn the lights out, it's candlelight, and they come around and give you these herbal eye drops. I don't remember what it was, but it tells you it's supposed to help you with your visions, to see your visions more clearly. That also kind of burns a little bit, but it wasn't that bad. You just kind of blink a few times and it subsides. And then once everybody has the eye drops, they start to call you up for your first little shot glass of the ayahuasca medicine. And I had it. I set a little intention, I know I'm safe. Whatever I need to see is what I need to see. I'm going to try to go along with it as best as I can. And I took it. Taste was not that bad. Everybody was like saying the taste was really bad, but I didn't really mind it, honestly. And I went to go lay back down. I don't know if I fell asleep or what, but it just didn't, like, by the time somebody came over and tapped my shoulder for the second shot, it didn't feel like an hour. Like, it did not, maybe felt like 20 minutes. And I was like, okay, I guess I need a second shot. And I went up and he was like, you're not feeling anything, right? And I said, no, I feel relaxed, but I don't see anything, I don't feel anything. And he said, okay, I'm going to give you 1.5 shots this time. I took the 1.5 and laid back down and I was closing my eyes, and I start to see just the stereotypical kind of trippy geometrical patterns and movement, but they're brief. They're just kind of like coming across my vision, and then I'm like, oh my God, it's happening, and then it goes away. And it would happen again where, I'm starting to see things, and then I don't know, I think about, I hope Nina and Cam and Julian are okay, and then it goes away. And at this point, I know, like, I'm starting to feel it, but I'm nowhere near in it. Because again, like birth, if you've gone through birth, or especially natural birth, there's a point where in the beginning you have a contraction, and maybe you're still talking in between, you're still thinking about what you did that day, or doing other things even, and you're like, okay, I'm not in it. This baby is not coming soon. And then there's a point where it's like all your energy, all your focus goes onto the birth, and you are just so locked in, and there's nothing else around you. And that's kind of what it felt like. Like I knew I wasn't totally in it, because I was still thinking of like just day-to-day things. And so I just waited, just kind of tried to see the patterns, tried to let them come. And I started seeing like almost like these cat ears come up. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then it was like full cats, and they were kind of cartoony, kind of like the Sailor Moon cat, like black and purpley color scheme. Back up. I took the second shot. I started to have pain. Right where I had pain when I had an intestinal obstruction after Nina was born. I was like, this is interesting. Something is going on here. Something is not healed. Something needs attention. And so I start to sit up, and I'm like, maybe this means I'm about to purge, because I was feeling nauseous. And I'm trying to like work it out, trying to move and trying to do all these things to help it. And, I raised my hand. I'm like, hey, I'm having pain. Is this normal? And he was like, yep, it's just the medicine working through you. If there's ever a point in this and you don't know what to do, just lay down, act dead. I was like, okay, cool, noted. So I'm still up. I'm still like trying to force a purge to happen. It was just making it worse. Like the pain was spreading. It was getting more intense. And I was like, you know what? Let me just lay down. And I laid back, and I just had this like warm wave shift over me. And the minute I laid back, it was like just like this light, warm energy right where I was having that pain. And I was like, oh my God, this feels so good. This feels so good. And yeah, I was trying to enjoy it, but I was like, but also like, don't I need to purge? Like, isn't that the thing? Like, isn't that part of it? And that's the first time I think I heard in my head, it's okay to feel good. It's okay to feel good. Just ease into it. And it took me a while to accept that, because I was still like, oh no, like, you know, maybe I need to go deeper, I need to throw up, and I need to do all this stuff. And I was like, you know what, let me just enjoy the good feeling while it's here. I started seeing more of those geometrical patterns. There was one, it was like linear, and they were like these lines moving, like all different rainbow crazy spectrum colors, and faces, heads, not male or female, just heads, no eyes, just like blank. And they were kind of like turning, like there was one here turning this way and one here turning the other way, like within these lines. And I was like, oh, it's kind of scary. That feels intense. And then I started to see like cat ears come through. I was like, cat ears? Is that a cat ear? What is that? And that's when I saw the cats, the kind of like cartoony Sailor Moon-ish, blackish, purplish sort of thing. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I know my Venus is in Leo, which is just been something I've always kind of been uncomfortable with, and it's been hard to accept about myself. That if you don't know what it is, it's like in relationships, I kind of have that Leo energy of like, oh, I need to be center, you need to give me all the attention I want. 5 love languages, yeah, all of them right here. And you know, I'm gonna tease, and I'm gonna play with my food, and I'm gonna be this like catty sort of thing. And you know, I just got this like flirty energy kind of come over me, and I was like, okay, well, that's me. Let me enjoy it. The same thing. It's okay to feel good. If this is what it is, it's okay to feel good in it. If you want to do that, do it. And so I kind of like had that energy in me for a minute. And then it would shift back to these really intense, like geometrical patterns that just felt like I was viewing like the universe. Like it wasn't stars or anything, but it was just like, I remember seeing lines, like vertical lines that were kind of spinning, and they were this whole crazy spectrum of colors. And within them, there were these heads, and they weren't male or female, and they didn't even really have eyes, but they were like spinning with the lines. And then like some lines would open, and there'd be like another one over here, and I was like, man, this is cool, but it's kind of scary. Like I feel kind of scared. And then I started to feel nauseous again, and I was like, oh God, I need to purge, but it's not coming. It's just sitting in me. Like I just want it out. And then something told me, you need to take more. I got really scared, because I was like, more? Like this is already really intense. Like I don't know. And it was like, no, you need to take more. So I raised my hand. I told them, said, I want to take more, but I'm scared. And he was just like, cool, I'll give you some. And I was like, okay. And he gave me another one, and I took it and I swallowed it, and I felt like the need to purge. Just, I don't know if it was like from the taste or just having something in my stomach, but I kind of dry heaved, but still nothing came up. I was like, okay, I just lay back down again. And so I laid down, and I just, really started to hear like a lot of internal voices, and they were all my own. And they were all things that I've said to myself before, all things I know, like just kind of that negative self-talk of like, oh yeah, like, of course you're struggling, like you're always struggling, like this is your life, like you're always in pain and you're going to be in more pain, and this is just what it is, like this is your lot in life. And I just felt like all the things I didn't like about myself and all the things that people tell me about myself that I know are true and I don't like, they were just there, and I was like, oh fuck. And then I started to, I heard Cam's voice, and I heard, you know, he pushes me, he cheers me on, and I was like, I gotta do this. There's no turning back now. I'm gonna be pissed if I don't face this right now. And I was thinking about him, and I was like, man, like he's such a part of me. Like I'm in the craziest place of my life right now, and I still hear his voice, and he's still like kind of guiding me. And I just felt like a big reliance on him. And I was like, dang, is that okay? Like, maybe I need to change that. That's not good, because, you know, I shouldn't be relying on other people, and, you know, I need to do things by myself. Yes, I do, but I also just got this feeling of like kind of like the similar to it's okay to feel good. Like it's okay to need him. It's okay. And, you know, I kind of sat with that for a minute, and then I just got this pull, like this feeling of being pulled into the dark, like into just a darkness. And I started to feel scared. I started to see like kind of like Celtic foresty things, but like animated, like drawn. And, you know, it was like I was moving through this forest, and these branches were passing me, and I got to this kind of swampy place. And those cat ears that I had seen, I thought they started to come back, but they weren't cat ears this time. They were like elf ears. And these creatures started to appear, and they just reminded me of the Powerpuff Girls hymn, like the tall, red, skinny character. But everything was blue and dark purple and green and cold and damp. And they just gave me the creeps. Like, they were so sinister, and they were like dancing and laughing, and like all these colors were moving through them and through the trees and the surroundings. I started to get scared, and I was like, I need to purge. I just want it to be over. What have I done to myself? Like, all the shit I was worried about in my life is so pointless. Like, I'm such an idiot. I even thought of my little, like, what I wrote out, like, oh, I want to do this with ayahuasca, and I just felt like so dumb. I was like, this is more intense than I could ever have imagined. Like, I underestimated this so much. Yeah, I just felt like I have ruined myself. Like, I took too much or something. Like, I'm never going to be out of this feeling. It just felt like suffering. And I was like, oh, snap. Like, this is my hell. This is it. I didn't know how much time was passing. I had no idea. But I kept feeling like I need to go deeper. And I even thought, like, dang, like, do I need to take even more? I had that thought of like, oh man, I think I do, but I couldn't. I was just like, I don't even think I could raise my hand to stand up to do anything. And I thought of Cam again, and I was like, oh my God, like, I want him here, and he's not here, and I have to do this alone. Like, I just felt so alone. And I was like, I have to be in the worst place I've ever been alone, and I have to venture out into it and deal with it. And it was really tough. I felt my fear so strongly. It just felt like fear. I still felt like I needed to go deeper. Like, I wasn't going into it hard enough, because, They say, like, you don't shy away from things, don't resist. Like, the same with birth. Like, don't, like, clench up and resist against the contraction. You just have to, like, let it take you. And I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to meet it. I'm trying to go into it. And I just, like, I don't think I'm succeeding. I feel like I'm failing. And I feel like I'm about to lose everything. I feel like I had a good life. I had an amazing partner. I had all these things going for me. We're just, like, on this track of ascension in life, and I just ruined it. Why the fuck did I do this? It just felt so dumb. Like, I was like, now I'm just in hell for forever. And for what? And I just couldn't see any positive, any hope, any light. And, yeah, I thought I had lost it all. And my mind was, like, going a million different places. And I thought, okay, can I push myself further? Like, do I need to go further in it? Like, I'm a very challenge-oriented person, so when I feel something I don't like, I really try to go harder into it. And I was really, really trying. And I was like, damn, like, can I go too far? Can I go too far to where I'm damaging myself, to where, like, I can't come back? And I was scared. I was going to go so far that I was not going to come back, but I still felt like I needed to. I felt like if I didn't deal with it now, it's going to come up later in my life, or, I'm going to suppress this feeling, and then boom, out of nowhere, I'm back in hell because I didn't deal with it. Or on my deathbed, I'm going to be right there in the same place suffering, but for longer and for literally infinity. Yeah, it just felt like there was nothing I could do other than to try to face it. Because if I ran, it was going to make it worse. I felt like I have so much to work on in myself, and I'm afraid. Like, I'm really afraid to see this part of me. And I know I have to, but it's scary. And I just, like, again, like that negative self-talk of, like, oh, you're scared, you're lazy, you don't want to do it, you're just going to put it off, and then you're going to be suffering down the line. It just felt like, of course you are suffering right now. Like, this is your life. You're always pushing yourself because you want to get better, and you're always taking the hard way through things, and you have, like I said, like, sensitive stomach, and, like, I have other, issues of pain in my body, and it's like, yeah, like, this is it. Like, this is life now. You're just going to suffer. And kind of like you deserve it. Like, yeah, like, this is your lot in life. Why would it not be? And, I remember trying to be like, okay, maybe I need to purge. Like, let me just get it out. Like, maybe if I just get it out, it will stop, because I don't want it to stay in me. I can't leave here with this in me. And I sat up and I heard the music, and it was so terrible. Like, everything was, I wanted the music to stop. He was just playing, and it was like, like grating against me, and I could see, like, the little creatures dancing to it, and I wanted it to stop. And then I was like, okay, let me try something else. Let me move to it. If I'm going to be here, let me, try to find some enjoyment. Like, it's okay to feel good, right? So let me try to feel good. And I tried, like, sitting up and swaying and kind of, like, dancing to it and moving and, like, singing along. And I could hear myself. I wasn't even, like, I was so offbeat, so off key. I was just like making sounds. It still wasn't really helping. And I was like, okay, let me do what I've been doing this whole time. Lay the fuck back. And I laid back, and I was just, I remember trying to ask for help, just feeling like, I think I might die. Like, what if I died? Like, I think I took too much. I remember kind of like, again, I could barely open my eyes this whole time. Like, you get that feeling of, like, your eyes kind of rolling back in your head. I could barely open them. And I remember trying to raise my hand and, like, signaling to somebody, like, help me, please. And I had my hand out, and when I looked, nobody was looking at me. He was facing the opposite way. He had, like, smoke, because he was coming over, like, with smoke. So I don't know what he was burning, but it was some sort of incense just to kind of enhance the experience or help you purge. I don't really know. Yeah, I was like, dang, nobody is coming for me. Nobody is coming for me, and this is it. Like, I have to fully surrender. And I was laying back, and I was so dead. I could not move. I couldn't speak. I felt my mouth was just so dry, like just mouth open. I don't even know if I was swallowing. And there was a point I didn't even know if I was breathing. I was like, oh shit, I don't think I'm breathing. Can I breathe? Am I going to stop breathing? And I was just like, you know what? Whatever needs to happen. I had to fully trust the experience and just be like, just surrender. I was still just in this hell and it just wasn't stopping. I was like just laying there like, okay, I'm here. Maybe it'll end, maybe not. I can't fight it anymore. I remember rolling onto my side. Things were starting to die down. I don't know what pulled me out of it, but I did. I started to feel like, okay, I need to throw up. And I was laying on my side, and I sat up, and I purged. I think he had come over with something. I remember a few times where the guide came over and like put something on my chest. A few times I was trying to purge and he would like put something on my back, trying to help it out. And so I finally purged. And it felt so good. I was like, oh God, it's out of me. And I threw up maybe, I think, 2 or 3 times. And that last time, it was coming out, and then I just feel it stop. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't get it all out. It's like there's something still in there, and I feel like I need to purge more. But it wasn't coming. I was like, okay, well, let's lay down again, because that's been, it's been working so far. It's just laying down. And I, there's so many things I was trying to do to purge that whole time. Like, I was like, man, do I need to get up and dance so hard to, like, just exhaust myself to where I'm throwing up and dancing and throwing up on people? I was like, I was just trying to do anything. But I was like, no, I gotta lay down. And I laid down, and I remember feeling like somebody is shining a flashlight or, like, their phone light in my eyes. Like, why are they doing that right now? And I remember opening my eyes, and at that moment, the moon was perfectly in the center of that steeple window, just shining onto me. And it was so interesting, too, because when I picked, they tell you when you come in, like, pick your mat. And for some reason, I was just like, that one. Like, that one is it. And it was, like, by this, like, pillar. And I was like, yeah, that just, I don't know, something about that makes me feel safe. There's, like, this pillar nearby. And it was the exact position where that moon was coming down. And it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I felt so good. I just felt like, oh my God, I made it to the other side. Like, I made it through. This is the bliss that people talk about. This is like the warm hug of ayahuasca. Yeah, I was just looking at the moon, like, just in awe, just feeling really good. And feeling like I want to go outside. I want to be in it. Like, I want to bathe in it. And I felt like I couldn't. I was like, I don't even know if I can move. I literally just had to die. Like, I just died, and I don't know if I can move my body. I was like, well, is anyone else even seeing this moon? Like, this is amazing. And I looked over, and the guy next to me, who's like sitting up, looking at it. And I was like, okay, he sees it. That's cool. And I was like, how am I going to get outside? And then that guy he just got up and went outside. And I was like, oh, he's trying to do the same thing. And he just did it. And I was like, I think I need to follow him. I think I need to go outside. And I went out. I had help from the guide because I was trying to walk by myself, and it was so unsteady. So somebody came over to help me. And I sat down out near the fire pit that they had outside, and just laid in the dirt, just sat in the dirt. And I got so dirty. I think Cam has a video of my mat in the morning. There's like fucking dirt and leaves everywhere. But so I was just like, just feeling, I couldn't see the moon. I remember like sitting down and being like, oh, I can't see the moon from here. But it just took so much energy to even get outside that I was like, whatever, let me just sit down. And yeah, so I remember putting my hands on the ground and feeling like they were part of the ground, and looking at them, and they started to look like they were decaying into the ground, and all these vines and leaves and flowers were like growing over them. And I was like, oh wow, this is really cool, this is so beautiful. It's like it signifies like my death and my decaying, but like it's beautiful at the same time. So I was looking at that for a while. I was looking at the fire. I laid back to, I don't know, I was kind of tired of sitting up. I laid back and was just thinking of things that made me laugh, things that made me happy, cry. I remember looking at, there was kind of like a tree with branches over me. It was beautiful to watch the leaves blowing in the wind. And I just saw this one like branch of leaves, and I was like, that looks so familiar. Like, what is that? And it was Julian's hand. It was like Julian's hand in leaves, like his chubby little hand just like kind of moving. And I was like, oh wow, like that's beautiful. Like, hello, my child. It makes me want to cry thinking about it. Because it just felt like, you know, they're here. I didn't lose them. Like, that's, I see him here. And so I felt like standing up. I was like, I want to see the moon. I came out here for the moon. Let me see the moon. I'm trying to look at the fire. The fire's not doing anything for me. And I went up and walked over because I saw the moonlight on the other side of the fire, and I was like, okay, I can see it over there. And I went and I stood under the moon, and there were you could see so many stars, and it just felt like, oh my God, I was just in hell a minute ago, and now I'm in this like a literal like heaven. And it's not even like hell and heaven in the religious sense of the term, but just like a dark and a light, like a good, a bad and a good. And I was like, wow, like, okay, there is both. I'm not in the hell for forever. I'm not there. And so yeah, I was just enjoying the moon, just looking at the stars. And then I think I remember feeling like, oh, like I kind of want to go back inside. I want to hear the music again. And I got back up, and I started to feel anxiety again. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And I started to feel like another wave of the medicine. And I got nervous, and I was like, okay, I need to go inside or something. And I walked inside, and like the music had died down, because there was definitely like a climax of the music. Like when I was in that hell suffering, like that music was so high, and I still don't know if that music was even coming from the musicians there or what it was, but it was just like, I was like, is this in me? But it was terrible. You know, like, but it helps you experience it. And like I said, you kind of have to let the music like wash over you and let it go through you. And he was like, you know, try to get some sleep. I was like, sleep? Like, I don't think you're like, I'm about to go through this again. Like I felt that pull to the dark again. And I was like, dang, but like nobody else is on the same wavelength as me. Like everybody else is trying to sleep, and I'm about to go to that place again. I'm about to go to hell again, and I don't have the music to help me. You know, the guides are kind of like, they're not up and using like the smoke and their tools as much, it seemed. And I just felt like I can't do this right now. And I was so scared, and I still like that need to purge came up again. And I was like, fuck, it's in me. I need to go back there. I need to go back and see it and face it again, because like you didn't go deep enough or something. I don't know. And I was trying to remember, like, no, it's okay to feel good. It's okay to feel good. And just, it wasn't helping. And I was just feeling so nauseous and so sick and bloated. And And I was trying to sleep, and I was just mad. I was like, oh, God, like, he told me to sleep. Like, how can the fuck can I sleep right now? I'm battling, like, this thing. Like, I would just get this wave of fear and anxiety, and I'd just be like, okay, no, I can't do it. I'd get this wave, and it would just go away, and I'd try to purge, try to get it out, and nothing was happening, and I just felt like I was going to be hopeless forever. I was afraid to close my eyes. I was afraid to go back there. I was so afraid of going back. I was really avoiding it, and at the same time, like, really, really hating myself, because I was like, but I need to. I know I need. Something is telling me I need to. And I was just feeling low. I was just like, man, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna be depressed for months. Like, I really messed myself up. Why did I do this? Like, I just, I want my life back. I want my other life back. I just felt like a different person, and I saw this kind of like other version of me. She was like dark and kind of like goth looking, and just like angry and brooding, and yeah, just like depressed and sad. And part of it was like, okay, that's part of me. That's kind of cool. Like, I have both. But it was also just like, yeah, but I don't want to be that. Like, I don't want to be that full time. Like, let me get a break. Well, I want to go home to my kids and my partner, and yeah, I just felt so hopeless. And I was trying to purge, and I couldn't. Trying to get sleep, and I couldn't. And just laying there, closing my eyes, like, trying to figure out, like, okay, do I go into the dark, or what do I do? And time passed. I remember kind of fluttering my eyes open and seeing that the sun was starting to come up. And I was like, okay, I made it through. Because I think what had happened is, I had those first 1.5 shots, and that was my first experience of, like, really being in that hell. And then I purged, saw the moon, went outside, and I think that third shot was, like, starting to take effect. So it was like a wave of it again. And yeah, I didn't know what to do. And I felt like I failed a little bit. Like, I didn't face it, but it also just didn't come. Like, I don't know. So yeah, morning came. I'm starting to see the light, and I just got, like, an instant sense of hope again. And it's like, this whole time in this whole experience, it was just like terrible feeling, immense bliss, intense fear, amazing feeling. It was just like this back and forth and back and forth. And I had this sense of, like, okay, all this great you want yourself to be, this image of yourself, of your best self, where you're confident, and you're this, and you're tackling the world, and you're, just everything. As good as you want that to be, if you want that amazing version of yourself, you got to go into that dark. You have, like, and I get that now. It's like, as much good as you want, you have to go equally into the dark. And I really just had to accept that. And that was, like, kind of a big overarching thing, is like, if you want it, you gotta go both. You gotta do both ways. You gotta see all of it. And I think me just kind of finally dying and laying back was, like, accepting it as what it is. And it's not that you need to get rid of the dark. It's that I need to get rid of my fear. I just need to understand it, and I need to see it, and I need to be in it, and I need to see how deep it goes. So yeah, I don't know if I needed to conquer it. I don't know if I, like I said, I kept feeling that feeling of going to the dark and just couldn't. So I don't know if that's going to come up again some point in my life. We'll see. But yeah, I started to feel better. The sun came up, and I started to feel better. I started to feel hope again. I started to feel like, okay, I can do this. live my life. I can be okay. Like I'm not going to be depressed forever. I'm not going to be afraid forever. I'm whole again. And I had a lot of thoughts about gratitude, honestly. I felt like I had gone through some of the worst suffering in my existence. Like it was the most scared I've ever been in my life. And I had, I thought of Nina. Like Nina, every time she's crying about the smallest thing, and I'm like, oh my God, it's just this, or oh, like, no, like, why are you crying so hard about this? Like, just clean your room. It's not that big of a deal. Or, yeah, you lied and now you have a consequence. So, just deal with it. And I really felt like, oh, wow, like, no, like, she is struggling. Like, she was in that hell. And I need to be there for her. It's like, yeah, it's a small thing to me, but for her, it's the worst thing in the world. And I felt that way about many things in my life, just like, I just had a lot more empathy for people's struggle. Like, just a lot more empathy for people's struggle. And I felt like, dang, like I can't wait to get home to her. I feel like I've been neglecting her. I'm getting lost in, all that superficial stuff that I thought was so important, that ayahuasca was just like, that's funny. Just getting lost in it. And I was just like, man, I need to tell her how much she helps me. And I thought about going home to Cam and to Julian and just feeling so happy that I didn't lose it all. Like, so happy that I did not lose it all. I thought it was gone. I thought I broke my mind. I thought I was, So I still felt like, I just felt really weak, but I felt better. I felt like there was hope, like I said. People were kind of starting to wake up. Some people were still purging. Some people were still releasing. Yeah, I remember crying at one point about something, and my nausea went away. And I was like, okay, maybe that's the purge. Like, maybe it doesn't have to be me throwing up and having this whole, like, or like just feeling sick. Maybe it can just me releasing through crying. And I was just kind of processing everything, just still laying on the mat. And, I definitely felt tired. The guide came over to me and said, how do you feel? I said, I feel so weak. He told me you need to eat something. So I had breakfast in the morning. And he said, you're a mother, you're breastfeeding, you need to eat, you need to replenish yourself. And so he brought me like an electrolyte drink. I tried to drink some water, and I was sitting over at the table, and I felt like I had to learn to walk. Even just to get to the table, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm learning to walk. I feel so off balance. Tried to eat some fruit, and it just felt like, what is this in my mouth? Like, it felt like a baby having the solids for the first time. I was like, do I swallow this? Like, what? I wanted to spit it out. Like, I didn't really even want to eat it. And I was like, no, let me swallow it. And I think that's one thing I have to understand, is that, like, when I'm feeling bad, I don't have to deprive myself. And that's hard for me, because when I feel bad, I don't want to eat. I don't want to enjoy food. I don't want to, I just want to sit in my badness. And I was like, no, I need to eat. I need to do something. And the more I ate, the better I felt. And at this point, people were kind of talking to each other more. Because that's another thing, too. I remember feeling mad. Like, why is nobody talking to each other? It's like, why aren't we, like, supporting each other through this? Even, like, before, when everybody got there, like, nobody was really talking to each other. And it's like, okay, I get maybe they're trying to prepare or whatever. But I was like, I don't even know. Like, this guy is going, like, we're both going through really intense experiences next to each other. I don't even know his name. Like, this just, it feels weird. And so there was one point out at the fire where the guy that got up and I followed, he was still out there. And I remember just like, I'm just going to say something. I'm just going to see what's going on. And I remember, like, looking over to him, being like, are you okay? And he was like, yeah, I'm good. And I was like, and I turned back over and I closed my eyes and I was like, okay, if you need anything, let me know. I remember being like, that was so weird. That was really weird, but whatever. And yeah, so that was another thing. But then now, like, I'm sitting at the table and, like, people are still, like, you're definitely still feeling the medicine, but, like, you're able to just function a little bit better. And somebody came over to me and we were just talking about our experiences, and I started to fall asleep sitting there. I was like talking to him, I was like, oh my God, I'm falling asleep. But then I felt like, I don't know if I want to sleep here on this mat or just go home in my bed, but, like, I definitely felt like the space was sacred. Like, if I leave the space, the ayahuasca is going to stop. Like, it's not going to be as potent, because it's like the energy there was kind of keeping me in it and keeping me having these realizations. So I was like, okay, I don't want to go home yet, but I want to talk to Cameron. Like, I need to talk to Cameron. And so I called him and we talked a lot. I talked about how important he is to me, how it was so hard for me to let him go. And I just was breaking down, crying to him on the phone. And I was like, he was like, okay, I'll come there. I'll come there to you. And he brought Nina. And while I was waiting for him, I was just, just having, like, all these realizations of, like, just gratitude for, one, everybody around me, the guides, the moon, the tree outside, like, everything. And, my family, just feeling so excited to get home to my family and just see, like, just normal daily life, just see the mess in the home, just, like, see all this stuff that gets to me. I just wanted to be there. Like, I was like, man, I will take anything after going through that. I will take the worst day of my day-to-day life over that. They had kind of woken everybody up to go around the circle and share their experience. And it was a mix of people, some Spanish speakers, some English speakers. But even the Spanish speakers, like, I could understand them pretty well. And even when I didn't, I was like, I got what they were saying. Like, everybody kind of has, there's, like, a similar experience to things in a way. Not specifics, but yeah. Cam. That's good. So yeah, we had done that. Everybody had shared. Abe, the guy that was really helping me throughout, came over and just talked through my experience with me and really, like, validated a lot of things I was feeling, and just kind of helped me work through what I saw, what happened. And so that was really helpful. And yeah, Cam and Nina got there and we went outside and talked, and it was just like, just like letting everything go, just like telling them my experience, telling Nina I love her, I appreciate her, I'm so grateful for her, all these things. Same thing to Cam. And, Cam has done ayahuasca before, so we just had this look like, he was like, you get it now, like, you get it. And I was like, yeah. I underestimated the fuck out of that shit. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna go do ayahuasca. I don't think I could have known. Like, I definitely could have known. It felt, again, it's like so similar to birth. It's like first time mom, you're pregnant, you're like, oh yeah, birth, whatever. And it's like, then you're in it and you're like, oh wow, okay. At least that was my experience with it. But yeah, so it just all felt very similar. They came, we just kind of hung out there for a while. Like, I was tired and I was still, like, in the ayahuasca days. I remember, like, talking to things with Cameron and, like, forgetting, like, just being on a tangent and then being like, wait, what was I talking about? But it all helped. It was all part of like kind of integrating things. I remember writing stuff down. First thing I wrote down when I woke up is, it's okay to feel good. Like, I think I'm always trying to just take the hardest way and be, I don't know, just like I thought about it last night. I was about to take a shower, and I was like, oh, the hot water's not on. It's like, it's okay, I need cold water. It's like more of a challenge or whatever. I was like, no, like, just go turn the hot water on. Like, just feel good. Just like have an experience where you just feel good. Like, you don't always have to be suffering. Yeah, I drew the moon. I wrote down, it's okay, I'm scared. It's okay, I'm scared. It's okay, I'm scared. Because that's really what it felt like the whole time. Express the gratitude more that I was feeling. And be grateful even for the pain, even for the fear. Because that's, like I said, it's like if I don't have the terrible, the dark, the scary, I don't have the amazing and the happy and the blissful, because they cannot exist without one another. And I really just had to, be able to take that and be like, you know what, be grateful for it, enjoy it, because that means that there's something else. That hell led me to that moon. It was a lot. It felt, like the whole time, it just felt like everything I already knew. It just felt like everything that I was experiencing has always been inside of me. And so we ate. Nina, we talked to some other people. And then me, Nina, and Cam, they brought me home. Julian was at home with the nanny. And it was kind of true, like, once you leave the compound, you're, like, back out into the real world, it does feel like it already feels kind of distant. And even now, like, today is Monday, I did it Saturday night, like, it feels so distant. That's why, like, my timeline of things, and, like, I definitely forgot things. It's, like, it's kind of everywhere. I tried to write it down when I was, like, really in it, but like I said, I was so weak. Like, I couldn't even imagine really sitting down and writing. So I came home, got sleep. I had, like, some bowel movements with that word, because they say, like, you can also, if you don't purge, if you don't throw up, sometimes it comes out the other way. It did. It wasn't bad. It was just like, okay, I'm releasing something. And, I started to feel more stable. And I still had waves of fear. And, like, waves of, like, oh, my God, I'm going back into it. Oh, my God, it could pop up at any moment. But I felt capable with it. And I felt like, any discomfort that I was having still in my stomach, I was like, it's okay. It doesn't mean I can't have a good time right now. I don't have to sit and focus on the suffering. Like, I can do this. Like, I just went to hell. Like, I can deal with a little bit of stomach pain. I can deal with a little bit of whatever. And, now, like, 1-2 days later, it's like I'm still kind of feeling things and still kind of making sense of everything. There's a lot that I still don't understand, and that's one thing with ayahuasca, is that they say that over weeks and months and even years, you still get insights from it, and you still think of these experiences and gather new things. And one thing I realized last night, so I was having all this gratitude for everybody in my life, and I was like, I haven't had any gratitude for myself in this whole experience. I had gratitude for the earth and the moon and the people, and I haven't thought of myself at all. I had to think about that, and I was like, man, like, yeah, okay, it called me again. That dark called me again, and I said, not right now. But I went there, and I was there, and I did see it, and I did endure it for however long I did, and I submitted to it. And that is saying something, and that took bravery. That's one thing I need to carry with me more, is to look at myself and be thankful. Definitely feel like I met my shadow. Feel like I saw what that looks like. I saw my version of hell. At first I was like, I'm never doing ayahuasca again. Like, this is one and done. And also very similar to birth, like right after birth, it's like, oh, never again am I doing this. And then, maybe even a few weeks, a few months go by, and you're like, oh no, I can have another baby. And it feels like that. And it feels like that already. It feels like I know I need to do it again. I don't know when, but I think I do. It's scary because I could be right in that same place, in that hell. It's not guaranteed, but it could be. And it could be worse. It could be more intense. It could be, it could be scarier. So I know it's still there. Yeah, I don't know. I did that shit, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad that, it showed me that as bad as things get, you can have light at the end of the tunnel. Like, literally, the moon is like that light. Now I just feel like kind of recovering, just kind of trying to take these things with me into my life now. Yeah, we'll see where it goes from here. I'm glad I did it. I really am. As tough as it was, and as much as I thought I ruined myself, I would say it was probably the most powerful experience of my life. My children, yes, my births were very powerful, but this was like birthing myself, and it was way more intense. It was something I had to do completely alone. It just felt like I kept having this fear of like, oh, like this is death. This is my fear of death, of being in eternity somewhere with nothing. And it's true. I mean, when you die alone. And that's something that's been hard for me, but I feel a little more confident that I can handle it now. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Like I said, I'll link the info to the group here in Merida. If you're interested in ayahuasca, just research it. I definitely recommend it at least once in everybody's life. Like I said, I was like, oh God, I've seen the other side and I can't go back, and what have I done? But no, it's good. I needed to see it. I definitely needed to see it. And it's, I don't think it's one of those things where you do it and you're like ruined forever. It's just, it's a very intense but healing experience. And like I said, now I'm just kind of gonna take it easy and try to retain these things, try not to rush back into the hustle and bustle of life, and really apply what I've learned. Enjoy food again, because like I said, the diet, and then the day before also you have to fast. That was another reason I think I just felt so weak, is like I had fasted for, at that point, 27 hours. By the time I left, it was like, I don't know, 30, 35, 36 hours of no eating. So just gonna enjoy. I'm gonna it's okay to feel good. I'm gonna enjoy some food. I'm gonna relax. And yeah, thanks for watching.